Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chai Chat and Community. My name is Saleha, and today we are talking about moms going back to work after a career break. Joining me today are Anita and Jess, who is both of them are making this possible. Thank you for joining me, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us. We're
Thanks
really
for having
excited to be
us.
here.
Pleasure, always. So, before I ask you what exactly you do and how you make it possible for moms to go back to work, do you want to tell me something about yourselves and how this whole concept of Mumbleme, I love the name, started?
Sure, I'll dive in.
We go.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, as Saleh said. I'm a mum of two kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. My background, my professional background is actually as a tax lawyer and accountant, and I've got about 16 years of corporate experience in the big accounting firms. And how Mumbleme came about, and I'll let Anita share the story in a second, but we actually joined forces a couple of years ago, but both of us had sort of our own experiences of sort of mum life or parent life with young kids, and also being wildly ambitious, and passionate about our vacation, our sort of our professional work as well. And for me personally, I observed over the years many women sort of, I guess, dropping off the workforce as we got more senior, and that coincided with parenthood. And I guess before I became a parent, I always sort of wondered, oh, what's going on? How come all these talented, skilled women are starting to sort of drop off whilst the men are continuing to progress? And myself, having come into parenthood in the last 3 years, I must say that I'm here experiencing all of that, which I'm very excited to share with you all. But Anita, I'll let you share the actual origins of Mumbleme.
Yeah, so thanks, Jess. I'm also a mum of 2. I have a daughter who's 6 and a son who is 3, so they keep me very busy. About 9 years ago now, my husband got a job in America and I moved over with him. And as I was looking for jobs over there, I came across this American business that was being started up called the Mom Project. And it really sparked my interest. I actually wasn't a mum at the time, but it just dawned on me that this was a really great idea and something to be taken seriously. And so over the next 5.5 years during my time in America, I kept a close eye on it. I used the platform myself as I was freelancing, and then having my own first daughter, I used the platform to actually hire somebody from the Mom Project to take over my accounts. By the end of my time in the US, this company had grown into a multi-million-dollar company, and it was just the kind of confirmation that I needed to go, okay, when I go back to Australia, I've said all along that there's something here, but we really need something like this in Australia. And I really think that, Australian mums could benefit from something like this, but it needs to be different and it needs to be tailored to Australian women and mums and the barriers we face and the opportunities that we want. And so, upon my return, I met with Jess. We call it a serendipitous meeting. We'd known, each other, sort of maybe as acquaintances, but just had this moment where we were, aligned in our vision and our passion for mums, either going back to work or in work and wanting to progress their career, or even older mums wanting to return after many, many years, and wanting to contribute now that they've got, this time on their hands and they still have so much more to give. And that's been driving us for the last 3 years to try and find a way through the market to ensure that this group of people has the same opportunity that others have to grow their careers, but also their futures and their wealth.
Thank you. This is awesome. Why Mumbleme?
Mumbleme was, it's not a very exciting story, I always say. I started just kind of thinking of names. I think it was a bit of a play on the word Bumble, which at the time was an app where, you could just get together and like meet friends and all that kind of thing. And, it had mum in there. I wanted to just call it Mumble, but that was taken. And my friend was sitting in the kitchen with me. This was probably about 2 or 3 years before, I actively launched it, and I just registered the name. She said, just put a me at the end of it. That'd be cool. And so I did. The mum and the BLE at the time was meant to, signify business and life and equality, but it just all became too much. So it's Mumbleme. And, lots of people have said that we should change the name, but we haven't really come up with something
it's
better.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
So,
I just remember the name so easily.
Yeah, and so look, as long as people are remembering it and, it gives you a good feeling, that's the name.
Yeah, I look at mum and I look at me. I mean, the rest of the words is not important. My connection is as a mum and as me. And when I think of Mumbleme, I'm thinking of women like me who are mums. So there's always me involved and mum involved. So I think it's a beautiful, catchy name. But
I love that interpretation.
Yeah,
and I think
love
we
it.
get a lot of different interpretations from people, Jess, about how they see it. When we had the logo done, they did like a shortened version with the 2 M's together, but they joined them together to make it look like mum. And yeah, there's been lots of interpretations of it. There's also, people say, we want to steer clear of the word mum when you're talking about mums. So, we also, we also get that kind of feedback. So, even from your community, Celia, it would be really interesting to hear from your community what they think of the name and whether having mum in it resonates or not, because we get really mixed feedback from some people about what it means, what it means for a big group.
Of course. So I've been doing some research, and data shows that the percentage of mothers who return to work after childbirth varies depending on the time period, the mother's employment status before giving birth, and the reason for going back to work. In Australia, the percentage of mums who return to work after childbirth within 12 months are 44%. Was 44% in 2005 and 42% in 2017. Not a huge decrease, but I would think a large enough decrease considering the time period. Why do you think this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I can take that one. I mean, there's lots of stats out there. There's different stats about, as you said, about, mums returning to work. But maybe I'll share a stat that I really resonate with. And this is from actually the government's, so the Australian government's Women's Economic Equality Task Force. And it was released in late 2023. And what it actually said is, so I mean, what we as mums that have, got young kids and have kind of returned back to the corporate world, etc. Anita and I, obviously, we've experienced this ourselves. We've seen it in our peers, but it's amazing when you actually see the stats in black and white on a government report. And what it says is women's earning capacity decrease. In the first 5 years, and I think it's like 55% in the first 5 years of entering into parenthood. So this is a huge earnings penalty that motherhood attracts, but whereas men's earnings remain unaffected. And then the other stat that's in the same report that I always sort of hold on to and go, this is crazy, but it's reality. And it really reinforces the need for something like Mumbleme is it says on average, an Australian woman earns $1 million less than an Australian man across her career. And if this continues, the average 25-year-old woman today who has at least a child can earn $2 million less over her lifetime than the average 25-year-old man who becomes a father. So, I mean, there's other stats in that report, but basically what that says to me is...
Can you send me those stats, please, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a significant difference between a a woman who becomes a parent and a man who becomes a parent when it comes to earnings, when it comes to like your salary, and $2 million over a lifetime.
Oh, it's
kind
a
of in the
huge
future.
amount.
That's massive. That's a difference. I always say like $2 million might not be big for some people, but for a lot of the average people, like that's more than enough for retirement. That's more than
Oh, yeah,
a comfortable mortgage. And so it's just like, hang on, guys, like, is this really happening in Australia?
So we are being penalized for being a mom, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's one part of, certainly one part of it. And if I can just briefly talk to why I think that is. So having had gone through the process of having with my 3-year-old, when I went back to the workforce after 8 months, and then now currently I've got a 1-year-old, and I'll have to go back to paid employment in the coming months. There is something that happens to the woman after giving birth that is really unique in the way, I think, like there's a whole thing of like, there's I call it a confidence crisis. Both there's an internal aspect and there's an external aspect. So, you have a physical transformation, physical stuff that happens to you when you give birth, and you're probably still recovering or have recently recovered. And there's stuff that, you might feel different, your body feels different. And then you also kind of go, well, I've taken a bit of a break from what I used to do. Can I still do that anymore? So you start feeling imposter syndrome. You're still feeling doubts. Start feeling doubts about, your own ability. And you might see that some of your colleagues that you used to train or that are more junior to you have in the meantime started progressing, or they've done more interesting projects. And so that impacts the sense of confidence. And then the external factors might be that, well, people kind of go, well, maybe you're not as quote unquote committed to your job anymore because you now have kids, or they might assume all sorts of things about you, about whether you're willing to travel for work, whether you're willing to do full-time versus part-time. And so one of the things that I really disliked when I went back the first time after parental leave was people just assumed I was working part-time. Now, I chose to work full-time at that time because for me, there was a particular, progression opportunity or whatever it was, or certain things I wanted to do. But I acknowledge that every single woman or parent would have a different situation. And so what I'm trying to say is it doesn't, we just need to assume less about what a woman will or will not do when she comes back from leave. But anyway, a lot of these factors, there's also policy, government policy and leave and, parental leave and all of that stuff that plays into why, some of these stats. It means that then the woman might start to go, hang on, maybe I will take a step back. Maybe I will opt out of the workforce. Or maybe we've had many stories of mums that have been made redundant, or their jobs are no longer there, whatever it is. And so there's a lot of different circumstances which contribute, and then over time, escalate and accumulate into the big, what we call the motherhood penalty, or the earnings penalty that I've just mentioned before in the stats.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, it resonates with me. I and childcare is so expensive that it's just a vicious circle, so for want of a better word. So why? So first of all, how do you help mums with going back to work after a career break?
Yeah, so our platform has been designed to basically allow mums to sign up, fill in a quick profile about their preferences and how they like to work, upload their resume, and then we use that data to help us go out to employers to show them the talent and the value and, the opportunity that's out there for their businesses. I think the key thing in that at the moment is we need to build a really strong base, to tell the story. We need the numbers of mums to kind of band together. So, this is really, I think, Mumbleme is really a story about women supporting women, and not only us supporting women that come onto the platform, but every woman that comes onto the platform is actually supporting another woman, to get a job, because every number obviously shows, the enormity of the opportunity that's out there, right? So, companies, while they want to do obviously the right thing, by the community, and, obviously, they're, looking to achieve diversity, at the end of the day, they need to meet business objectives as well.
Absolutely.
And so, we understand that. And we also understand that the talent that is out there in mums, especially women that become mums, you actually gain so much more in terms of your decision-making abilities, your ability to do multiple tasks at one time, juggling responsibilities, prioritizing, productivity just shoots through the roof, because you can do so many more things in a shorter amount of time. You actually become a really valuable employee. And it's said time and time again, when you employ a mum and you treat her well, you get loyalty out of them as well.
Absolutely.
And so the biggest thing, and the biggest thing that we want to do for mums, is provide a platform for them all to come onto the one place. Don't get lost on the other platforms, and try to compete with other people that look different to you, right? If we can show what high performers look like in terms of mums, and highlight that on the one platform, I think that's a really powerful message. But when you're lost in the crowd in other platforms that weren't particularly designed for you and don't have the right advocates for what you need, you're probably going to have an average time in the application process and interview process. So this is what we are doing for mums. I guess our ask is that you come on board, you support and sign up, because the bigger the number, the bigger the opportunity, and the more powerful our voice can be.
So I'm going to ask you a very personal question. It's at least once every few weeks, I feel I need a change of job. Go look for better opportunities. I'm a mom, okay, an older mom, not a young mother going back after parental leave. So if I am looking for a job, why would I come to you and not to a recruiter? How do you stand out?
I think it's really what Anita was saying before, that we're a platform which is for women and for mums, and it's for women in all phases of parenthood and all phases of their careers. It's like it's a special laneway. Like, we use this really cool analogy. So imagine you're at the airport and you're waiting in security line. As a mum, you've got like the pram, the fold-up travel pram, you've got your big backpack with your laptop, you've got your baby, but you're just like waiting at the back of the line, and you're just like, oh my God, this is so hard. But imagine, like, the security person goes, hey, come, this is a special laneway for parents. Come through. Don't worry, I'll take care of your pram. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about, I'll take care of your laptop bag, and you just hold your baby and walk through. And that the sigh of relief that you kind of experience that situation, because it's happened to me before, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And then like compare that to the other airports where you do have to keep waiting at the line, go, oh my God, seriously. And so we want, it's sort of that experience. Like, if you go on the mainstream platforms, of course there's opportunities there, and there's lots of great mainstream platforms. But what we hear, the experience of a lot of these mums and women out there, is that they get overlooked, or they just kind of get put into a pile. And often because, particularly when you've had some parental leave, or you've kind of changed jobs for whatever reason to look after your family, often that's not necessarily well understood, or maybe the way that the systems or people kind of sift through that. And of course, increasingly we've got AI and technology, which is a whole another sort of beast topic to talk about. But that you kind of just get kind of shuffled to the bottom, because you don't appear to be what we call the typical high performers, and so you get kind of a bit lost. But at Mumbleme, we're a platform that we understand what women are going through and what you need. And at the same time, we're also working with businesses that are progressive, that are not necessarily looking in at people that fit into a particular mold to be a high performer. So yeah, so I think that hopefully answers the question of, this is the support, this is who we are, and this is
I'll apply
for the mums.
I'll put up my CV.
Nice.
So you help women go back to work after they've had a career break, whether it is childbirth, whether it is, whether they've traveled. It's just a break, a career break for many, many different types of reasons or kinds of reasons. So what has happened is the world has changed in the last 5 years. If I haven't been in a job, but I am qualified to do any job, irrespective of, the world has changed. The way we write our cover letters, the way we address key selection criteria for women like them, who haven't been at work for 5 years, 6 years, maybe 10 years, how do you encourage them to start? Where can they go for help? What is the best place for them to, at least, I think the cover letter is the biggest stumbling block. What do you do? What do you write? How do you say? I know a colleague of mine, she took a career break for a year. Her child was young. She moved from here to another state, and she needed that career break to settle herself down, to look after parents. And it was tough. It was tough. And she's highly qualified. She's one of the best people I've worked with, but yet it was tough. So for people like her, and especially if it's like a career break for 5 years, because honestly, I mean, like I was telling you, both of you know how expensive childcare is. And not everybody is in the high income bracket. If your partner is not in the high income bracket, it's more likely that the woman will take a back seat and she will be doing the job and the man will be doing the career.
Yeah.
So, she wouldn't have gone back to work until her child has gone to school, not just childcare or, daycare or kinder, but proper school. So that's a good 5 years that she hasn't been at work. What would you say to them when they're writing their CVs, their cover letter, and more importantly, what I hate, the key selection criteria? What is it that you would tell them?
Look, the first thing I would say is that there are many different ways to market yourself. You can look at templates on, the internet, you can use AI, you can look on Canva. There are actually many ways to market yourself. You don't have to start with a timeline. You can describe your key strengths, your abilities, and you can actually take the chronology out of it. You can put it in there. You are going to be asked when you worked at places. We're not saying to take it out entirely, but you don't have to lead with those things, right? You can do multiple resumes as well, right? You don't have to just rely on the one resume for yourself. So, a lot of the time, sometimes we do see just kind of a list of dates and jobs, and that actually can just be something down the bottom as like extra information. You can lead with your achievements. You can actually talk about yourself as, maybe an IT analyst and all of the different places and jobs over time that you've completed those IT analyst skills and roles and, achievements. Then you might have been a business analyst, and you can chunk it out in terms of roles or skills or achievements rather than chronology, and then hide the chronology, within, those kind of
within the cover
chunks
letter
of skills or chunks of roles. Yeah. And even in your cover letter, I mean, that's a really great time to obviously talk about yourself, but that's a really great time to demonstrate what you've researched about a company and why you think your values and their values align. And it's not to say, it's not to lie about the fact that you haven't been working, but there are different ways to show that you still think the way that they want you to think. And I think that's the key. Don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. And how can you show companies and hiring managers that you're taking initiative? How can you bring that into your resume? Jess always has some really good ideas on CVs and resumes.
I think you're absolutely right, Anita. Like, focusing on skills. Like, when I think about myself and like the way that I describe my skills, like, I mean, I've taken 2 parental leaves, but I've been doing voluntary stuff. I've been, on the board of a couple of charities, and I'm using my professional skills, for example, or I've done some external sort of whether it be like speaking at panels, that that's a way to show leadership skills, or some further studies that or self-development opportunities that I've taken upon myself to do. And I recognize that not everyone chooses to do that, but I would really encourage
I was going to say
people,
that.
I think it's about encouraging people to think. Like, I think it's easy to go, oh, like, I don't have any skills, I haven't done anything, all I've done is just stayed at home and looked after kids. But that's not necessarily like the right way to think about it, because as Anita said earlier, like, once you become a parent, like, you actually develop more skills, the way you multitask, the way you negotiate, the way you manage parents group communications and all that stuff. Like, I think we need to give ourselves more grace to kind of go, actually, I'm really good at a bunch of stuff. Just because I haven't been in paid employment doesn't mean I don't have those skills. And in fact, those skills are highly desired or desirable by employers. So it's sort of firstly kind of sitting down and go, well, what have I done, and what are the different things, and what can I highlight without necessarily sticking to the traditional format of the CVs. And of course, some companies will want that, but then it's kind of reframing what's the value that I have to give, and how can I sort of stand apart, whether that be project management skills and efficiency, multitasking, and that kind of stuff as well. So it's a bit of an internal self-confidence boost that will then help you to write your CV or cover letter in a way that that resonates.
A question, again, I'm very passionate about. We hear a lot about ageism, and it's not just women, it's men and women. The minute you touch 50, your employability reduces by at least 50%. And when companies are restructuring, the first lot who will be targeted are the other 50 plus people in most organizations. Are you helping older Australians get back to work? Older Australian mums get back to work. That is one. And along with that, I also want to ask you what are the criteria for applying and uploading their CVs in Mumbleme? Do they have to be citizens? Do they have to be permanent residents, international students, all of that? So, sorry, I clubbed it together because
I'll take the first part, and I'll let Anita take the second part of the question. So in terms of older women, absolutely, our platform is for you. As I mentioned earlier, we are for women in all phases of parenthood, all phases of your career. I've actually been really inspired by many older women who are 50s or 60s, but they similar to what we said earlier, some of them, their kids are now adults or are now empty nesters, and so they're like, now I want to have more time to actually go back into the workforce.
That's me.
Empty
nester.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and you kind of go, well, actually, there's new things that I want to try. It could be a completely different profession. It could be continuing what you've previously done. And you know what, like, a lot of these women might have been doing part-time or contract jobs sort of throughout. And so now they go, well, now I've got a chunk of time to kind of dive back into a more demanding role, or whatever it is. Every situation is different. So we would say we are absolutely for you, and we absolutely want to encourage people of all ages, all situations to jump on our platform, because as Anita said earlier, the more different sort of diverse groups of people that we get on the platform, and we can showcase your skills to the employers that we're talking to, then that also generates more opportunities. And ultimately we just want everyone, we want all these candidates and all these women to win. We want the employers to win. We want it to be a win-win situation for all. So yes, please do come.
Yeah. And yes, Celia, in terms of working rights in Australia, you do need to have working rights. I mean, you can sign up to our platform without your working rights in Australia, but you probably won't be able to apply for many jobs without it. So I would say, if you're a permanent resident or you have working rights, or obviously citizens can sign up confidently. I would also say, just because you don't see a job on Mumbleme doesn't mean that we're not working on things in the background. Employers have told us, sure, we're happy to look at mums, bring us the mums. And so, part of what we're doing at the moment is gathering the mums, right? So that we can show employers the mums, right? And so, jump on board, especially, if you have working rights in Australia, go onto the platform, sign up, and then put your preferences in, your working preferences, how you like to work, flexibility preferences, and upload a resume. And let's show employers.
Yes, we will put the link to your platform at the end of our show. Any other message for the mums that you want to help?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would add is, like, we're for all mums in all different sectors. One particular project we're really focused on at the moment is zoning or honing in on the IT services space, because digital skills is an area that is a shortage in Australia. And so, the government's got sort of a priority focus on that area. So, everyone in all sectors, please do apply. However, if you're in IT services, that's where we're really doing this project at the moment. And so we do, really would encourage you to come in. And equally, any employers that are open and excited about the idea of this, please do connect with us as well. And you'll get some our emails and details following through Celia as well.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Celia.
And the pleasure's always mine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love chatting.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.